Most people don't join a cult intentionally. Often, they're simply looking for a community of like-minded individuals and a spiritual or religious practice that resonates with their beliefs. From the outside, cults can closely resemble a church, with a leader and a congregation. But while religions typically offer a framework for spiritual guidance and community support, cults can veer into dangerous territory. They are headed by manipulative, charismatic leaders who demand that their members remain loyal to them, isolated from the rest of the world and open to their extreme ideologies. Here are some of the most sickening cults that have ever existed, and shockingly, many of these still exist. The Children of God cult represents one of the most disturbing chapters in the history of modern religious movements. Founded in 1968 by David Berg in Huntington Beach, California, this cult masqueraded as a Christian-based communal group promoting love and faith. However, behind this facade, what really went on was horrific exploitation and the abuse of cult members. Berg, who called himself Moses David after the great leaders in the Bible, preached sexual promiscuity, which he said were expressions of God's love. He introduced a practice called flirty fishing, where female members would use sex to attract new members. Former members detail how they were taught to seduce men and use their bodies to bring men into the cult, even after marriage. Where he really crossed the line was with the sanctioning of adult-child relationships. But the cult members were so brainwashed that many would defend these practices.
It's actually fun to watch a child, in this case, experience live.
Many members who escaped the cult would later report psychological trauma, and several took their own lives as they struggled to cope with their cult experiences. The families of famed actors Rose McGowan and Joaquin Phoenix had also once been in the cult. The Phoenix family joined the cult in the early 1970s when Joaquin was very young, and they left a few years later, disenchanted by the group's practices and direction. After leaving, the family changed their surname from Bottom to Phoenix to symbolize a new beginning rising from the ashes of their past. Today, the Church of God cult has changed its name to the Family International. It's attempted to distance itself from its controversial past, publicly denouncing Berg's more extreme teachings and practices. But regardless, this past still exists in living memory and continues to haunt those who have been subject to its horrors. Gloriavale is a Christian fundamentalist community located on the South Island of New Zealand. Founded in 1969 by the self-styled religious leader Neville Cooper, later known as Hopeful Christian, the community lives according to a strict and literal interpretation of the New Testament of the Bible. The residents of Gloriavale live communally, sharing possessions and adhering to a strict code of conduct that governs their daily lives, dress, work, and social interactions. From the outside, it looks like a happy and laid-back community, but what really goes on within is quite controversial. Ex-members have spoken about the forced manual labor, physical and sexual abuse, lack of personal freedom, and the suppression of education and outside information. Basically, the community lived in a bubble under the thumb of Hopeful Christian. Women and children had the worst of the lot. Women had little to no say in their own lives, including marriage, while children were often beaten and whipped. Take this harrowing description from an ex-cult member during a TEDx talk.
We were then told to watch as a fervent beat willing with it. And I refused to look. Instead, I stared down at my desk and whispered, "Please, God, make it stop. Please make it stop."
Even today, the community remains isolated with a strong emphasis on remaining separate from the outside world, which they view as morally corrupt. Originally founded in Santa Monica, California, as a drug rehabilitation program in 1958 by Charles A. Dedrick, Synanon evolved into a cult-like community by the 1970s. Synanon was praised for its innovative approach to drug addiction treatment, and initially it seemed to work. Members lived in a communal setting, adhering to strict rules and participating in a practice known as the game, a form of group therapy that often involved aggressive and confrontational tactics. But as Synanon grew, it began to attract not just drug addicts, but also people seeking a new way of life, leading to significant changes in its structure and practices. Later on, Dederich declared Synanon a religion, which further solidified its transformation into a cult. In line with this, the community imposed more rigid controls over its members. Synanon even demanded that all its male members get vasectomies, although how that would assist in growing the community is unclear. They also enforced divorces and remarriages, and the separation of children from their parents to be raised communally. People who left Synanon risked physical violence for being a splitty. One ex-member, Phil Ritter, was beaten so severely that his skull was fractured, and he subsequently fell into a coma. The turning point for Synanon came with its increasing militarization and involvement in criminal activities. As Dederich would say, our religious posture is, don't mess with us. You can get killed dead, literally dead. These are real threats. There were even accusations of attempted murder directed at Synanon. All this would eventually lead to legal battles and the decline of the organization. By the late 1980s, Synanon had effectively dissolved, plagued by lawsuits and criminal charges against its leaders. The FLDS is a religious sect that split from the Mormon Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in the early 20th century, primarily over the issue of polygamy. The mainstream Mormon Church officially renounced polygamy in 1890, but the FLDS continued practicing plural marriage, believing it to be a crucial tenet of their faith. Led by Warren Jeffs until his arrest in 2006, the FLDS has been based in remote communities on the Utah-Arizona border, as well as other locations. The group is known for its strict and secretive practices, including arranged marriages, often involving underage girls to older men, which has led to numerous legal issues and public controversies. Jeffs was convicted in 2007 of 2 counts of rape as an accomplice for arranging underage marriages and is currently serving a life sentence plus 20 years. What's really concerning is that even though Jeffs is imprisoned, he still holds significant influence on the FLDS community, going to show just how brainwashed a person can become.
We live in a world that's taken on the ways of the devil.
If there's one word to describe this strange cult, it's crazy. Heaven's Gate was an American UFO cult founded in the early 1970s by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. Applewhite and Nettles, who were known within the cult as Doe and T, believed in a UFO that would come to Earth and save the select few true believers. Over the course of several years, the followers were required to sever all contact with family and friends and adopt an asexual appearance. Some members of the group underwent castration. Heaven's Gate received worldwide attention in March 1997 when 39 members, including Applewhite, participated in a mass suicide in their rented mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. Their recorded goodbye messages, called student exit messages, are very sad to watch.
We're very happy and proud to have been members of Timecodes class and couldn't be happier about what we're about to do.
It shows a group of people who appear intelligent and normal, and yet we're all brainwashed to an extreme point. Members took phenobarbital mixed with applesauce or pudding and secured plastic bags around their heads after ingestion to induce asphyxiation. All members were dressed identically in black shirts and sweatpants and brand new black and white Nike sneakers. They also wore armband patches with the words Heaven's Gate Away Team. This remains the largest mass suicide in United States history and sparked a media frenzy, as well as public and academic interest in cults. As the entire core group had taken their own lives, there was basically not much of the group left to continue, and it became defunct. It can be easy to dismiss these cults and their members as nut jobs, But doing so overlooks the complex psychological, social, and personal reasons why individuals find themselves drawn into such groups. Which cult do you think should have made our list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. It helps our channel grow so we can reach more viewers like you. Thanks for watching.